Welcome to Roundabout Oxford, a podcast from the University of Mississippi Libraries.
Hello, I'm Carmen Sanchez Garcia, cataloger at the J.A. Williams Library at the University of Mississippi.
And I'm Lauren Rogers, library specialist, and this time on Roundabout Oxford, we talked with our colleague Allie Watkins to discuss her latest publication on young adult literature.
Yes, hi. I am a research and instruction librarian here at UM Libraries. I'm the liaison to the School of Education, and I've been here at Ole Miss for about 2 years.
And how did you start with your interest in young adult genre? And can you please define what young adult literature is for the audience?
Sure. I worked in public libraries for a long time. In youth services, I worked from kids aged 0 to 18. So I was working and collecting and sharing children's literature all across the age spectrum. But I've always especially loved young adult literature. The American Library Association defines young adult literature as books written for youth ages 12 to 18. But as I said in my publication, that line is very fuzzy because it bumps up against children's literature, it bumps up against adult literature. So it is a little hard to define.
Your latest publication is titled, Is Popular Young Adult Literature Aging Up? It was published in the New Review of Children's Literature and Librarianship.
Right.
Why did you decide on this research topic?
So when I was in public libraries and my friends and colleagues in public libraries and a lot of our school librarian friends were discussing this topic anecdotally, it was something that was coming up a lot. I was hearing a lot of librarians that worked especially with middle schoolers tell me that they were having a difficult time finding books for their middle school readers where the age of the protagonist would match the age of the reader. And I couldn't find any actual research that had been done on this topic. So I decided to tackle it. Yeah.
Do you think that there is a kind of a change in the teenagers' interest in reading?
I think it really largely depends on the teenager. Every book has its reader and every reader has its book. But, I think that because of publishing trends, that there are changes in the options that they're having set before them.
So can you tell us about your publication?
Yeah, so I looked at 10 years worth of New York Times bestsellers in the young adult category, and then I looked at each individual title to determine the age of the main character to see if there was a trend upward in those ages over that 10-year period.
What did you find?
So it's a bit more complex than is it aging up as simple yes or no. According to my data, just looking at my sample, there wasn't an upward trend because it kind of started high and stayed high. So over 90% of the books that I found had a main character over the age of 15. So pretty high numbers. I think there could be a lot of different reasons. I definitely think it has to do with publishing trends. There are definitely adults buying young adult literature. One statistic that I ran into when I was doing my research says that over half of YA books are purchased by adults. And that could be, guardians purchasing books for their kids. Right. But this article went on to say that something like over 70% of those people were purchasing the books to read for themselves. I'm all for everybody reading whatever they want to read. I think that I read YA. I think that more adults should read children's literature. It's great. But if the adult readership is affecting the trends of literature for youth, I think that's something that we need to examine more closely.
What are the implications for that age?
I think access is one thing to consider. Some teens won't mind reading up, and that's great. If a 13-year-old wants to read about a 16-year-old, we should encourage that if that's what they desire. But there should be books for that 13-year-old about 13-year-olds as well. So there should always be a range of materials for every reader. But one of the things that I think is really important that has come out of this research is that I think that we should be able to represent the full spectrum of adolescence.
So what do you tell the librarians that they are in this predicament?
I tell them that they're going to have to look a little harder because this is obviously this is popular books. So this is books that are being marketed by publishing houses. These are probably the books that the kids are seeing on Instagram and TikTok. Other mid-list books that aren't reaching the New York Times bestsellers list are probably representing more ages. So they're going to have to look a little harder. And as I also said in my paper, there's also a category called middle grade. And middle grade is sometimes said that it's for 8 to 12-year-olds, and it's sometimes said that it's for 10 to 14-year-olds. So there's categories that overlap. So I think that there are some books out there for our kids. We're just going to have to put on our librarian hats and work hard to serve those kids. Social media's impact on publishing has been very large, outsized, one might even say. And so the publishers are targeting the consumers that have disposable income. And a 12 or 13-year-old is not going to have the income to purchase the book. So it's kind of a conundrum. It's just a gap in the system. Yeah.
Are you going to continue this research?
Yeah, I have some ideas. I might look at the middle grade list. I'm looking at some other areas of children's literature. My colleagues, Melissa Dennis and Harley Rogers, and I just finished a research project about Prince Award winners. And the Prince Award is an award for excellence in young adult literature. We're looking at which libraries in Mississippi have those award winners and their collection development patterns. And we're going to present on that topic at the Mississippi Library Association conference. I'm also looking at some user experience stuff, which is my other interest. With a couple of colleagues, we're looking at some data from our Ole Miss regional campuses to see if our libraries are serving them in the best way that we can as well. So I love children's literature, but I'm also really interested in the way that we're serving our current students.
Roundabout Oxford is created by Brian Corrigan, Carmen Sanchez Garcia, Joe Moody, Lauren Rogers, and Alex Watson, with musical contributions from Brian Corrigan and Gail Herrera.